If you're just getting started into 3D printing and you want to get some basic tips and knowledge on what you should be doing when you're 3D printing, today I'm going to be giving you guys all of the must-have knowledge and tips that you are going to need to know while 3D printing. So if you already own a 3D printer and you know how to download and slice the file and you know how to print something, that's great. That's where you need to start at. But you want some more tips and knowledge so that way you can progress through this hobby, or you just want some more advice on what you should do if you do own a 3D printer. I'm going to be sharing with you guys the most basic and necessary knowledge that you have to have, as well as the best tips that I have if you're just now getting started into this hobby. So whether it's the maintenance of the 3D printer and the filament itself, other materials that you're going to need that are necessary for 3D printing, or adjusting the settings in your slicer to help you get better prints, easy to remove supports and other things like that. So without further ado, let's jump into the video. So the first tip I have for you guys is keeping your build plate clean. One of the #1 causes for a print failing because of build plate adhesion is because the build plate is dirty. For that, we're going to be using 99% isopropyl alcohol and a microfiber towel. Touching a build plate with your hand can leave oil all over the build plate and can make the print not stick to the build plate, or even the residue from the last print that you had, or the head touching the build plate. So just spraying a little bit of this isopropyl alcohol onto your build plate and then wiping it away with the microfiber towel can save you all of that headache and can help guarantee that your next print will not unstick from the build plate. Keeping your bed clean also reduces the need for using a glue stick or tape on your build plate. I've been doing this for about 2 years now and have never had to use glue stick, tape, or any of that other stuff on a build plate, because I kept it clean. So whether your 3D printer has a magnetic build plate, a PEI sheet, or even a glass bed, isopropyl alcohol and a microfiber towel are 100% necessary for this. So the second most important tip that I have for you guys today is keeping your filament in a controlled environment. If you find that when you're 3D printing, you're having issues with bubbling, stringing, or maybe there's discoloration in the color of your print, it's probably because you have moisture in your filament. And it might not even be your fault. Sometimes when you get filament shipped to your house, the plastic around it can pop and the solenoid packet could fall out, and that's how humidity gets into the filament and can trap the water in there. PLA filament is very susceptible to its environment, so if you keep it in a humid area, it's definitely possible that it could attract a lot of that moisture and store it inside of the plastic. An easy way to avoid this is keeping it in a climate controlled room or in an air conditioned house or anything like that where there's not going to be any chance of humidity getting near this. And if your filament does have moisture in it, it's not the end of the world either. You can get one of these filament dryers on Amazon for about $50, and these are super simple. You just put the filament in here, run it for about 4 hours, and it will make the filament like brand new. But if you don't have the money for that either, another great option is putting it in an airtight box, putting some of the solenoid, I think it's called solenoid. The little packets that they put in the packaging with the filament. Put some in there and let it sit, and it should extract all of the water out of the filament, and it'll be like brand new. Tip number 3 is making sure that your 3D printer is built correctly. What I mean by this is there's hundreds of pieces on your 3D printer. Even if it came pre-built or it only came in about 2 or 3 assembly pieces, there's hundreds of screws and bolts in there that can come loose during shipping or while printing. Especially if you bought a bed slinger like the Ender 3, there's 3 belts on there that control the Z, Y, and X axis. And all 3 of those need to be tightened to a certain degree to make sure that the printer isn't running too rough. So if you notice that your print is having a lot of issues with ghosting or lining, try to check all over your printer to make sure that every screw is tightened and that all of the belts are tightened. If your 3D printer isn't built properly, you're never going to be able to get great prints off of it. So you want to go around your printer and just check that every nut and bolt is completely tightened and fastened where it's supposed to be, and make sure that your belts are also tightened. When checking your belts, you want it to be just a little bit looser than a guitar string. So you want it to be fairly tight, but not so tight that it can't move whatever part of the printer it's supposed to be moving. And for the final 2 tips, I'm going to be going over to Cura and showing you guys some settings in your slicer that you should always make sure that you have ticked or unticked to make sure that your prints come out better, as well as making the supports easier to remove. Okay, so we're over in Cura, and the first thing you're going to do is go over to the top right, go into the settings, click on the search bar and type in combing, and enable for all. And what this setting is going to do is it's actually going to drag the hot end nozzle over the top layer of the print to kind of fill in the gaps and smooth it out, while also spitting out a little bit of filament just to help close it up and make it nice, consistent, and smooth. So basically everywhere where you see the yellow will be hit a second time to help smooth out all of those layer lines and make sure that there's no more gaps left in the print. And finally, we're going to put on rafts. So go to settings, scroll down to build plate adhesion, and instead of having a rim or a skirt, turn on the raft mode. And basically what this setting does is it prints out a 2-layer floor for the print to be printed onto. And this helps guarantee that the print will stick to the bed because it's going to be printing on top of an already printed floor, and it'll help guarantee that your print will not fail because of build plate adhesion. And as you can see, there's actually a solid printed floor underneath the model, so that way it'll help it stick to the build plate. So that's all that I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope that these videos are helping you guys on your 3D printing journey. I'm going to keep making these videos and slowly get more advanced so that way you guys can get better and better at 3D printing. So if you guys would like more videos like this, consider subscribing to the channel and commenting what questions you guys have for my next video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.